Felicitations! Hello, everybody. It is me, Felicia Day, and I am so excited to be here with a live version of my podcast. For the month of July, Twitch is featuring podcasts and interview shows. I am very fortunate to know a lot of very interesting people, and I thought that I would invite some of my favorites on to chat because I haven't been in my house in a year. So I'm actually seeing a lot of them for the first time and even talking to them the first time because I'm a bad friend. Anyway, tonight we have some supernatural specials. So if you're a fan of the show, you will see some familiar faces. At 8 o'clock, we will have Kim Rhodes on. But currently, we have the amazing Jim Beaver and Sam Smith. Hello.
Greetings.
I'm so happy to see both of you. Sam, I drew that out because you stood up and your crotch was like right there. So I was
God.
like, I don't want to go.
My sprinklers came on right outside the window. I'm trying to shut the window. Oh my God.
Are you being drenched right now? What's going on?
No, it's so loud. It's literally the sprinkler system is right outside this window. And it was like kunk kunk.
We're not hearing it. You look amazing. Your hair has grown 7 feet. Jim,
going full mermaid.
You are full mermaid. What about you, Jim? Are you a mermaid?
No, I couldn't pass the physical.
Wow, there's a physical requirement for being transformed into a merman-made man.
The mermaid, the criteria is much lower.
Yeah.
The bar is pretty low. Yeah, for the maid part versus the man.
Right.
Yeah.
Got to do a little arm day. Do you notice I've been working out for 3 weeks, y'all? Look at this.
Look at you, Gun Central.
I know. Look at that. Look.
What have you been doing? What is the workout?
Okay, I'm going to be a bougie a-hole and say that I have a trainer for 10 weeks. Okay?
Great.
I don't know. Have you ever had a trainer like for a job, either of you?
Yes.
Not really. They just take a look at me and think there's nothing we can do here.
That is not true.
Not true, Jim. It's not true. I have to tell you, of all the people in Supernatural, these are the most 2 adored people. They are gems in front of the camera, behind the camera, so good at what they do, but also just people, when you're around them, you feel like you're glowing. And even though Jim plays a crotchety, self-deprecating person, he is truly a gem of a gentleman. If I were going to be in Apocalypse, I definitely would want to be in your hands, Jim.
It's true.
Careful what you wish for.
I was in Apocalypse with Jim, and it was great.
Yeah.
Until he kicked us out of the camp.
It was.
Oh no!
It was the best apocalypse I was ever in.
You guys had so many. I was going to say we're not going to talk about the show. So audience, if you have any questions or comments for Sam or Jim, please leave them in there. Leave them in chat. My wonderful mods are going to be picking up some key, juicy questions for me to ask toward the end of the hour. But for now, we're just going to be gabbing. But I didn't want to talk about the show, but I do want to say that last season, the last 2 seasons, you guys had stellar. Well, I mean, Sam, unfortunately. Spoiler alert. I do want to talk about one thing that's more general. Okay, we've all worked a lot. Wait, Sam, first, you didn't say your trainer. You didn't tell your trainer story.
It was for Supernatural. When I came back in season 12, they had to teach me to fight. So they sent a Krav Maga trainer to my house.
What?
I was so bad at it. They were like, we're going to teach you this one move, because I had to throw Jensen. And then on the day we get there and it's raining and we're in the wet grass, they're like, do this instead. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I can't like change tracks. I know one dance move. So, yeah.
I mean, you tried, right? How long was it? Because you can't learn Krav Maga in like one day. Like
no, it was
how many sessions did you
get? Over the course of like 2 weeks, and then I did some boxing and stuff, and they taught me just enough that I could fake the initial moves that the stunt girl could take over for me.
Okay.
But over the course of the 3 years, I got much, much better. I started doing boxing and all that. And then ultimately I realized that I really felt too old for that. I just stopped.
I mean, just doing like just doing any kind of trying to like the plank movement is very upsetting for me because I think I'm heavier on top than I used to be and my arms are getting thinner. I don't know about Jim, what do you do
Plank
for a
is
workout?
hard.
Yeah.
Plank
What
is
do
one of
I-
the hardest things you can do.
Yeah. What do you do for a workout, Jim?
I changed channels.
Eh.
I don't want to mess with this. This
You're actually looking pretty fit there, Jim. Not
Yeah.
gonna
Well,
lie.
it's the stress and anxiety diet. It works pretty well, and I recommend a pandemic to anybody who's fighting weight.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, certainly the eating in a little bit, and also, yeah, the extreme stress. And what have you? So let's talk about COVID and the last year because now we're kind of a little bit opening up. We're having a little bit more of a I can go tiptoe out. Although when somebody goes for a hug, I'm like, no, you get back.
It's funny, right?
Yeah,
I
doesn't-
actually went to a Pilates class today in person. My first one.
with other people sweat in the air,
Like 8 other people were in the room.
human dander floating everywhere. Sam,
The only person with a mask on was one student and the teacher.
how
But
did
I'm
you
like, that's what
feel?
a vaccine is for.
I know you're right. You're right.
And we
You're
were
right.
every other bed.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'll talk to you in about 7 days.
I mean, I think it's going to be fine, right? Like if you are immunized, then the variants you're protected against them. That's exactly why
I mean,
amazing scientists came up with it.
Pretty much, right? Like I feel like I had my vaccine and I wasn't like licking anyone else's Pilates bench. So
don't knock it till you've tried it.
It is weird though. I've been to a couple restaurants and it's weird being out around people. It's
Yeah.
strange.
Do,
like having
do you
a
remember
waiter
the
bringing
first
food.
one? Yeah, Jim, do you remember the first time since the COVID has lessened that you went out into doing like a
Well,
public friend thing?
I was going out a lot before it. I mean, I went to Canada to work 3 times before any of it loosened up.
What show were you on? The Boys or what? What are you working
Boys,
on?
yeah. Well, I was shooting. I did a couple of episodes of The Boys, and then I did Guillermo del Toro's new movie Nightmare Alley, and
What?
I had to go to Toronto 3 different times, and I quarantined for 14 days each time.
Wow.
I was nervous, but at the same time I was working, so that was, it was a good thing. But
Right.
yeah, I've been out and about a lot. I got my vaccination wrapped up in February, and
Oh.
so I've been pretty free. I'm still very careful. I'm a lot more careful than some people in my situation might be, but I just know that it's so important to be vaccinated and to be around vaccinated people.
Mhm.
At the same time, I know just enough science to know that nothing is absolute. So
Yeah,
I'm
100%.
still
Yeah.
careful.
Right.
I still wear a mask when I'm in most public situations, and then I stay at home as much as I possibly can because people want me to.
I mean, people. Well, no, nobody wants you to. Clearly, you're a popular actor. I mean, the Guillermo del Toro movie and The Boy. I mean, The Boys is an amazing show,
Isn't
and
it?
it really is. It's like because you take a subject and you're like, oh, gosh, superheroes. Like I'm so
Yeah.
over them. And
Yeah.
WandaVision was the only thing besides The Boys that's like, oh wow, I'm thinking about this in a different way. It's so wonderful. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And they got
it's
nominated for an Emmy today for Best Drama Series.
incredible. It's
That's
totally
right.
incredible. Well, maybe I just got new headshots done, so maybe I'll be an extra sometime. Hey. Hi.
Well, it's Eric Kripke, so he seems very fond of most of us from Supernatural.
I know,
So-
but I'm not the kind of actor that's going to be like, "Hey, just keep me in mind." I've never like emailed outreach to anybody like, "Hi, friend," because I have this. Are you that kind of actor? Because I know that's no, okay. Because
No.
I can't do it. I know some people are just like, hi, I'm available. Like Mark Shepard told me like he got 3 jobs because he does that. He just follows up with people. I'm like, I don't know how to
Oh,
do it.
you know what?
Yeah.
I have done that a couple of times. One time was with Eric Kripke when he did that show Revolution. I read the pilot and I read this part and I was like, I could knock this out. And he made a call and let me come in. But the reason they didn't call me in the first place apparently was because it was the part of the mom that dies mysteriously in the pilot.
Been there,
And
done
they were
that.
like, meh. So I was like, well, all right, I get it.
But you got
And
called
also-
in.
Right. No, and I got to go and see the people and it was great. For, you know, and
what it
they
is.
also got Elizabeth, what's her name? She's
Shue?
amazing. What?
Elizabeth Shue?
No. I can't remember. Somebody will know. Somebody in the
Somebody in
comments or
chat,
something.
tell us who actually got this role. Somebody's got it on their Rolodex.
You're gonna know who she was. She's amazing and she's a star. So
She's a star. Elizabeth Mitchell. Victor
yes.
says. I don't even know who
Yes.
that is.
Oh, really?
Thank
You
you.
would if you saw her. She's
Okay.
worked a lot and she's great.
Yeah. Well,
but
not
yeah,
as great
it's-
as you, but that's okay.
But it's hard to put yourself out there like that. You're like, can you
It is.
please? And they're like,
Yeah. Well, but you kind of think, that's the thing about it because like whenever in my past I have castings and you just can't sometimes there's a person who sticks in your mind, you're like, I have to make something for them. But then sometimes you're just like, oh, hey, because there's just so many, you have 8 million things on your mind. As the super showrunner producer I am, but you're just
no, but
overwhelmed.
a
all the time.
reminder is never bad if it's somebody you'd want to, I just don't have that. I'm too like awkward to do it
I know.
most
It's
of the
like,
time.
hey, what's up? So, Jim, how was shooting during COVID? Like, that must not have been as fun as usual, possibly.
It was tougher.
Mhm.
I'm one of those weird people that doesn't mind being locked in a hotel room for 14 days. So I didn't mind the quarantine
Yeah.
at all. But shooting was it was odd, especially because one of the jobs was the very last day of Supernatural.
Oh.
And I hadn't seen the guys in 6 months. And I get there and the first impulse is to run around and hug everybody. And
Yeah.
everybody's, at arm's length or more. And it was very weird. I confess that we all stayed apart from each other and all the crew wore masks and everything. And then we were all gathered for the very last shot of the show. And when it was over, everybody just started hugging one another like it wasn't COVID
Aw.
at all, because we couldn't resist it. But for the most part, it was it was odd. It wasn't awful, but it was odd.
Yeah.
On the Del Toro film, I have a really big mustache, and I couldn't wear a mask between takes because of the size of this mustache they had on me, and so I had to wear a plastic face shield that hung around my neck, and
Sounds awful.
and that was awful because it was really, really cold and it kept fogging up. And so I kept tripping over things because I couldn't see. And then, I had to take it off for every take and put it back on. But this is major first world problems.
Of course.
At
least you didn't have to try to do like because I heard a friend of mine had to do like a kissing scene, like when it first was broken and they were trapped. First of all, they were trapped in Canada away from their family. And then they had to be tested like twice a day up until the kissing scene. And then they put like film on their mouths so they wouldn't actually touch lips, which I'm like, that seems kind of strange.
That's how I normally do it.
Oh, okay. That's how you normally do it.
We'll have to have a conversation about that. Apparently on the soap operas, they were doing like the kissing and stuff, they'd have the spouse of the actor or actress come in and have a wig, and like they'd be doing it that way from the
Oh,
back and
wow.
switch.
Oh.
Well, that was one of the things that Jen said last week. Jen Padalecki was on, and she was like, yeah, it helps in COVID to be the wife of the star.
Yeah.
She's an incredible actress, so she definitely earned that part. But yeah, I guess in the midst of COVID, you don't want to really kiss anybody but somebody you're already going to kiss anyway, right?
Exactly. I shot something in February, also in Toronto. I
saw you travel. Yes.
Yeah. And it was, the shield and the thing on the plane and like, and the 2-week quarantine, you get off the plane in Canada and you have to have your COVID test in hand. And they run you like at Disneyland through the ropes, 6 feet apart. And then you get a COVID test when you land in the airport. And then they bring you, I missed by just a few days, the new thing where they make you stay at a hotel at the airport for 3 days.
Is that
and then
still
you can
now?
go to your other hotel for the remaining 11 days.
That's still now though? Is the 14-day quarantine still on?
Yes. And so the 14 days in quarantine, I was okay until about day 10. Then I started to get like I'd like put my head out in the hall and just look around. When I arrived I was at a residence, like a apartment residence. And I remember like checking in and looking back over my shoulder at the door and being like, what, like having an impulse to make a run for it because I knew I was going into like 2 weeks of jail. But I didn't really know many people on the set, just a couple. And it was.
What were you shooting?
Can you say?
What were you shooting?
I can do this.
Okay.
And I
Wait,
may or may not have
what?
had stuff on my face, so I
Wait,
also had
what?
the shield. And I felt like a dog who had like an operation because you have this shield around your face, and I know
You're blowing my mind still. I'm so excited for you.
it's pretty cool.
That's like my dream to have stuff on the face and
like fittings and the whole like stuff and
wow. Everybody in chat is going crazy right now.
I may be in trouble, but
it's okay. She didn't say anything, y'all. She did not say anything.
No. I didn't.
No.
So
I couldn't do that show because I can't do the thing.
Exactly.
Whoa!
That was the requirement, right?
I can't
be able to do that.
You kind of have to be able to do that, right?
Right.
I could do it both. I had to practice. Okay, no, this is funny.
I only do this? Was this also Mork and Mindy? Nanu? Was that this?
Nanu.
Did he do the same thing as Spock, or was it different? I can't remember.
I don't know. I'm not. I remember that show only vaguely.
You might just be a little bit younger, younger. Like I watched that show religiously.
I don't do shows where I have to do that.
The only reason I know how to do it on this side, for real, is photo ops. Because my character Charlie went, "Peace out, bitches," and so that's kind of like everybody asked me, "Can you do the sign?" But in photo ops, some people are like, "I only want to be on this side." So if I want to take a picture with somebody at the convention, I had to learn how, and like physically for a long time, I had to just.
Really? You had to train yourself?
I had to train myself to do it on the left side.
Is that one of those things like a tongue roll? Like some people can do it and some people can't?
It's genetic. Can you do?
No.
You can't do it?
Ooh.
Oh, yeah,
but
you
I can't
can.
do the one like the 4-leaf clover. People could go like, or fold it back.
I don't trust those people.
I can do the roll, but not the other one.
So what I have not worked during COVID except in front of this camera because I'm addicted to streaming now. But I have to say, talking to my friends, it's been especially hard. I know that you have a kiddo, Sam, and
yes.
Jim, you have a kiddo. How like it's extra hard to be quarantining because that means 2 weeks more away from your kid. So
yes.
How did you?
My kid's in school in New York, so.
Oh, okay. So
we're apart anyway.
You're apart anyway. So you have an older kid, but Sam's kid is not so old.
Mine just turned 13.
Are you kidding? We met when he was 9.
Yes.
Oh, life. I have her Brio. She gave me her Brio, and then I gave him a bunch of Magic the Gathering cards. Did he ever get into that?
No, but we have them.
Okay.
We have them.
Okay. Well, one day he'll
I
get
feel
into
like
them.
I'm going to be the one who ends up using them. You know, we sort of have always had a rule. We try not to go more than 2 weeks and never more than 3
Yeah.
apart, unless, and I never have. And so this ended up being almost 3 weeks to the day. It was 2 weeks of quarantine, and then a week of fittings and filming.
Mhm.
And but 2 weeks of it sitting in that hotel room, you lose track of time. Like time,
Yeah.
it's very strange. But yeah, it definitely it is a consideration, because no matter what you're doing, you have a 2 extra week dead
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it has changed. I'm going back next week and to Toronto, and I only have to, I think I have to stay in a hotel room for like 3 days.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
There's
that's
a
only for vaccinated people. I don't even know if they're letting unvaccinated in.
yes, 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 yes. I think that's true. They just changed it. If you're vaccinated, it's a much shorter period of time, which makes sense.
that makes
I mean,
sense.
and I
Makes
guess
sense.
Canadian vaccination rates are increasing. So, I
Yes,
mean, it's all going to be fine pretty soon, but I don't
but
know. Can, Mhm.
it's crazy. They COVID test you 3 times a week when you're up there right now, like everyone on the show. So I mean, the
Wow.
expense and the time
Yeah.
and the PPE costs, and I forgot to put my shield on a couple times and got like in big trouble. So I mean, it's a
It's a big deal.
but they're smart, like they're being extra careful.
Now, can your kiddo be vaccinated? What is the cutoff age for vaccinations?
12.
12. So he
Yes.
he
Yes,
he
he has been.
that's amazing. See, I have a 4-year-old, so for me, like even going to conventions and stuff, I'm a little wary. They say that
Totally.
the person who's vaccinated can't. They say that the person who's vaccinated can't necessarily carry it
I
back,
don't,
but of
do they
course,
know? Do
I
they
mean,
know?
yeah.
They're
Do we
like, because
100%
I'm
know?
like, well, you can, because you can
Yeah,
get it. So if you can
Mhm.
get it, you can carry it.
100%, 100%. So you could be a passive carrier or a I don't forget what they say. Yeah. So it's especially hard
Asymptomatic.
for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, asymptomatic, exactly. Um, during COVID, did you guys? This is one of my favorite questions because I picked up a couple hobbies like gardening and baking, and that's why I have a trainer because I really picked up baking. Did you guys discover anything? I mean, Jim, you might have been too busy, but is there anything you discovered or rediscovered about yourself, or like a hobby or something you picked up that you can kind of
Not
thank COVID for?
not really not really a hobby. I mean, my favorite pastime is watching old movies, and boy, I crank that up. Uh, my first my my quarantine in Toronto in February. In 14 days, I saw 41 movies.
Mhm.
Um,
Jeez.
I
because
binged
that
some shows for sure. You just, what else are you gonna do in there?
Yeah, but not so much new stuff, but I've been working on this book for years and years and years, and always complaining I didn't have time to work on it. And suddenly I had a lot of time to work on it.
Yeah.
So I didn't do as much as I should have, but I have been. I've really increased my writing time, but nothing new, not really.
I mean, that's a big deal though, because I definitely, after taking about 6 months to just do streaming and kind of unplugging from the Hollywood machine, trying to do a lot of, especially like the producing and the writing and the Hollywood stuff. I'm like, it's not for me. And so for about 6 months, I did a lot of streaming, which was so fun and kind of like rediscovering my online and the community building and made me feel not lonely. But I started writing a lot more of my own stuff. And so I don't know, it feels like it was creatively stifling for a while, but then creatively gave you room. I don't know. How did you, like, Sam, you're a very creative person. You do lots of crafts, especially. I saw that you were like really revving up the crafts over holidays, or not
I
holidays, but COVID.
was. I don't think I started much new stuff, but I delved deeper into
Mhm.
cooking, into not so much baking. We baked a bunch of cakes in the beginning, and then I was like, we're just so sick of food at this
I
point.
know.
We're like, just cooking and grocery delivery is my new favorite thing in the world.
It's true. Although they never pick good bananas. You cannot trust another human being to pick bananas for you. That's
Yeah, it's like someone picking your flowers. It's tricky.
Yeah, it's not right.
I did a lot of sewing.
Mhm.
My dad, right before COVID happened, he happened to be out here on a boat, on a ship, on a trip, and had brought my grandmother's antique Singer sewing machine with him because it weighs 3 million pounds because it's iron. It's from 1931 or 2. And I've been using that to sew, and it's better than any sewing machine I've ever had.
Oh, wow.
So I took it all apart and I cleaned it and rebuilt it, and then have been using that.
Well, your husband's really, you guys are just crafty people because
He's super handy.
Sam's husband makes the most beautiful spoons. And I know that's really strange to say, but he makes wooden spoons that are so gorgeous. And I
He
use
really
them
does.
pretty much every day. And I never.
Do you?
Yes.
Yeah. Jim, did you ever get yours? I hope you did.
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
good.
Absolutely.
I mean, Jim looks like a daily cooker. You look like you make your own marinara.
I can see you stirring some sauce, Jim.
I have a routine with my cooking. I go out to the freezer and I get one of these plastic bowls with beans and meat in it, and I microwave it for 3 minutes, just 3. No. And then you pull the plastic film off and eat it. And I put my work up against any chef in the world.
Jim, you make me want to go over and take over your life for a couple days.
No, I got a wife who cooks, and she does a very, very good job of it.
Okay, so you're not just like stranded and doing, yeah, okay, no. I got you. Okay.
Nobody's dependent on me for eating.
Good.
Listen, we all have our strengths.
Yeah, what are your strengths, Jim?
My strengths are, I sleep really well, and Zoom meetings.
Sleeping well is actually not one of my strengths. It took me 20 minutes to figure out how to get on here today.
That was not your fault. We were marveling. Poor Sam was struggling with Zoom, and Zoom was not her friend, but she got on here and she's on a phone, and you look beautiful.
Thank you.
By the way, you look amazing.
Thank you.
Can we talk about, okay, so can we talk about like just traveling now? Because I'm a little bit anxious. I think all of us have some conventions that we're going to appear at. And yes. First of all, it's been since like 2008, I have been doing many conventions a year. It's a wonderful way to support me, but also just like be out there amongst the community and see the world. It's wonderful. It was nice to take some time off, but then I got excited. I was like, yes. And now I'm getting anxious again. Like, how are we going to approach like, how do we approach it? Are we going to be, I'm a little anxious. I'm like starting to fidget now. I'm thinking about it.
I've already done 3 or 4 in the last few months.
What?
Yeah. In Texas, I think it was in Alabama.
Wow.
Several. And
how do they handle them?
Everyone had to wear masks indoors. I was already vaccinated, or I think the first one I was mid vaccine, you know? Mm-hmm. And people were just respectful, and like photo ops, they would do like a plexiglass vertically, like perpendicular to the camera, so you could be right next to the person, but there's plexiglass so you can take off your mask.
Wow.
And there was no hugging or anything like that, but there were 2 tables, and it was great. Everyone was really respectful. Airline travel is really, really controlled. And by the way, the plane is like the cleanest, safest thing. Like I've always been the crazy person with the wipes. I wipe the tray table and the seat belt and the back of the headrest and the TV, so now it's a little blurry when I watch it, but I wipe everything down. And they do the fogging, but I still like, it's still dirty. I'm just like, clean it all. Yeah. And I turn the air thing and just have it point like over the top of my head just to push the air back. But then the air on the plane is super clean. So you're good. I'm more worried about the grungy airport. So I just keep my distance from people.
Yeah. I hear it's a little bit crazy. Well, it was crazier like early, like a month ago, and now it's gotten a little bit better because I think there's they weren't anticipating so many people just wanting to get out of their houses, which I don't know why they didn't do that. But
we just traveled to New York, and the plane was packed. There was like 1 car left at the car rental. there's people ever, the beaches. It's crazy.
Yeah, the beaches are crazy. I
You
have no
just-
impulse to vacation, but I would like to get out and just do, yeah, it's got like a vacation
It's
work kind of
good.
thing.
It's good to
Yes.
be around people, I think, as long as you're
Ugh.
careful. You just have to maintain your boundaries.
Yeah. Can I ask you one thing, Sam? And I want this to dovetail into a question I have for both of you, because all of us have worked a lot as actors and we have long and storied careers. What is that movie poster on the back of behind you, Sam?
Oh, it's hiding behind my upright Pilates machine. That is
What?
a movie. Here, shall I go like this?
Yeah. Oh, is that you?
Yeah. Can you see? Wait. how's
Yes,
this working?
you have a nice reflection on your face, but I do see you.
It's it was I think it was my second job. So it's called The Truth About Juliet, and it was a little independent feature, directed and written by a guy named Sean McGinley, and my friend Spencer Garrett was in it, and Carl Wiedergott, who he auditioned to do backup voices for The Simpsons while we were doing that movie, and he ended up taking over, and like he was living in this little tiny basement apartment, and now he's done like 1,000 voices and has been on it ever since.
What?
So that was in like 96 or 97. It was my
And you saw him kind of get that
second
job. Wow.
I know.
That's amazing.
The
And you look
funniest thing
beautiful.
was thank you. I was a baby. My audition, I brought in my resume and handed it to them, and it had two things on it. An HBO commercial and Seinfeld. And they were like,
I
what?
remember seeing, I saw you on Seinfeld. Remember when I was like, oh my God, Sam, I just saw you on Seinfeld. And I've never fanned out more in my life because that's probably my favorite TV show. And there is no more joy. If I am in the deepest depression, I put on a Seinfeld episode because nothing can make me laugh more than seeing Seinfeld. So seeing you on that show, I was like, that was your first job?
It was my first job. Like, first of all, I spent the whole week thinking they were going to fire me. To this day, I have no idea why they hired me. I had no idea what I was doing. Jason Alexander's like, no one can hear you. But the reason I brought it up is because when I handed my resume to the director, they all thought I was making it up, but they're like, you don't make that up.
No,
Yeah.
like, no, it's very checkable.
So yeah, so then there was that.
Wow. I mean, you were really good on it. There was you were good on it, but there's nothing worse. I remember acutely just not being prepared for anything in Hollywood. Jim, can you remember one of your first jobs? Because it is just, you look back and you're like, wow, I did not know I should not have been on a movie set. I should have PA'd for like 2 years before going on a movie set as an actor.
Oh God, Felicia, every day they deliver you the pink and yellow pages. Yeah. I didn't know what they were for, so I just put them in the drawer. So everyone was reading the changed script on the new pages, and I was like, I don't have that. Mine's different. What?
Oh
my God, so good.
Well, I remember when we were shooting Birth of a Nation.
Oh, come on.
I don't remember very much about not knowing. See, I was kind of lucky in a weird way. I started out doing extra work, and my first few times on a movie set, I was just background, and so I got to watch the actual actors do all their stuff, and I was on in particular, I was on a big movie with Burt Reynolds, and I was on it for a few weeks, and so I watched really carefully everything that was happening. So by the time I got into something where they'd actually let me talk, I had a pretty strong sense of how things worked. It's still weird the first day that you're shooting and you don't know about marks, and the camera guys are going, could you please be in focus?
Yep, I remember. I've been there, done that. I mean, I was an extra on Pearl Harbor Michael Bay's movie. And I was so angry because in my mind, I was going to have this amazing close up. Like, it was this huge scene where there was all these caskets in the hangar. It was like an airplane hangar. And there were caskets everywhere. And like American flags on everywhere. It was a very solemn scene. And I was maybe 20 years old. It was like one of the first things, 20, 21 years old. And they gave me like an 8-year-old kid. And I went up to I was like, I'm sorry, but I'm not old enough to have this child. And they looked at me like I was an idiot because all they saw was my back and like from the biggest, widest
crane shot.
Yeah. Crane shot. It was like so far. I didn't understand. I have done like a couple of short films before I moved, but like I was not educated and I certainly wasn't smart enough to do what you did, Jim. So I did do extra work, but it was so, boring and I wasn't ever close enough to understand what was anything was going on. Yeah, it's a very strange world and do what Jim did, y'all. If you want to be an actor, be an extra, learn how to hit a mark.
So smart.
Yeah.
Well,
and then you'll know not to throw away your new pages.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
That's a good story. We have some questions, okay? Before so can you tell everybody what conventions you're going to be up at before we end? Just because I want to talk about if you guys are going to be anywhere. Jim, where are you going to be anywhere that people can meet you in person?
I'm going to Lexington, Kentucky in August, I believe. I've lost track of which is when. And I'm Zooming on my phone, so I can't look at my calendar. But I think I'm doing Lexington and either Nashville or Pittsburgh. I forget which.
They're same, pretty close to each other.
And then in September, I've got Birmingham, England.
Ooh, what?
Yeah.
That's pretty. Is it the Supernatural convention or is it just a general? Because I went to the
Star
general.
Fury or something.
Mm-hmm.
Is it?
I think it's Supernatural.
Oh, okay. Because there's MCM Birmingham is a lovely event. I did that one a couple years ago. Although the food,
I don't want to say for certain that it is because I simply say yes to these things and then go where the car and the airplane take me.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So people in chat know your schedule better than you do, Jim. Pittsburgh.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
So Pittsburgh. Y'all, I'm sorry about the ads. That is something that supports the show. If you want to subscribe to the channel, you don't get ads. And thank you for being here. Okay, so so Sam, you're okay. So you're going to be in Lexington and Pittsburgh and Birmingham, England. They have the most famous Indian curry. I'm sure. I mean, outside of
Birmingham.
In Birmingham, England, they are famous for their Indian food. And I actually went there with who was the other actor? I can't remember. Not a Supernatural person. And we had the most amazing, I think it was like cashew curry or something. It was just like the best thing I've ever eaten. And it was very not a fancy place. So if you're ever in Birmingham, England, Jim, do you like Indian food?
Nope.
Great. So you're going to be set.
I love
Sam.
it. I've been there several times. I never knew this. I missed that somehow.
Yeah. So where are you going to be, Sam?
I have my calendar.
Because I want our paths to cross. This is why I'm asking, because I want to know where we're going to be at the same place.
So the first week of August, I'm going to be in Arkansas.
Oh.
ABC. It's NWA, Northwest Arkansas Con.
Okay.
And a couple weeks after that, I'm going to be in Kansas City, Missouri at Planet Comic-Con.
That's one of my favorite cons. I'm a little bit jealous, and I wish I was going because I know that there's a lot of SPM people going, and I'm a little bit jealous.
I'm excited. Yeah. I wish you were coming.
Maybe I can pull some strings.
Please.
That would be the best.
Come stay with me.
I would love it.
And then the week, I literally have 4 weeks in a row. Then I have Louisiana Comic-Con, which is it's not in, I can't remember which.
Not in New Orleans, right?
No. I can't remember where. And then the weekend after that is Dragon Con, which I know.
I'm going to be at Dragon Con. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy. And I'm bringing my baby because I have relatives in Atlanta. So one of the reasons why I'm going is that my grandmother, so her great grandmother, has never met her as a 4-year-old. So I'm pretty excited to go. Also, Dragon Con. Those are Planet Comic Con, Dragon Con. I'm going to be in Cincinnati. There's There's like some that are like the best, like Rose City. Although, I don't know if Rose City
Rhode
is
Island is great. I love
Rhode Island.
Salt Lake City Fan X, I think it's called.
So
There's
Fan
some
Expo,
really, yeah, there's a lot of great ones. And then
yeah.
right after that, the last one for this little stretch is winding it up with Creation in Orlando.
Orlando makes me worried though.
We'll see if it happens. I mean, I know
Yeah.
any of these could, I think, depends on how COVID goes.
Yeah, Sam Smith. Oh my God, you have a beautiful voice. Sandy Doggo says that's very nice. Okay, let me do
Oh,
some
thank
questions
you.
because I mean, I could talk to you guys for hours. I'm not kidding, and I'm so glad.
Same.
Just wonderful things. No one's going to be doing a favorite line in Supernatural. I'm not going to have to do that. Okay, what experience do you carry? This is a good one because it is Supernatural. But what experience do you carry with you in your career that you learned filming Supernatural? Because y'all were on, like, what was your first season, Jim?
Season 1.
Season 1. You were in season
Yeah.
1. So, and you were in season 1, Sam, and like many, many seasons toward the end. Like, this has been a journey. This is a lifelong job.
Jim, were
Yeah.
you in every season?
I was in every season. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Sometimes only once, but
Right.
I was in a lot the first 7 seasons, and then it tapered off for a while.
Yeah.
But it was always at least once. Yeah.
I came on in 7, so maybe that hopefully it wasn't my fault because I was only in like 2 or 3 a season. But
Well,
then, spoiler alert.
they couldn't afford 2 beautiful people.
It's true. We didn't want Brad couldn't pull focus on both of our faces.
On everybody, right?
I miss all of them. Every time I search one of the crew, I think everybody has to understand that the Supernatural set was a very unique set in that the crew behind the scenes was as familiar and friendly with each other and family as in front of the camera. And that's just not often the case. You don't normally see regular actors hanging out with camera people and makeup people on the weekends. And that kind of family atmosphere, I think, really was the heartbeat of the show. So like whenever I see like, a couple of people went to Nancy Drew and then some of them are on Legend of Tomorrow, you're like, I really hope I work on that set just so I can work with that set designer or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I love those people.
We remained friendly with a ton of the people from the crew.
Yeah.
And it was in large part the same crew for 15 years.
15 years, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just so it also makes you just feel better as an actor that you're not just like having strangers stare at you, looking
You're
at their
safe.
phone. You're just like, oh, this is a person who I know what their kids, what their kids do. I know what their favorite restaurant is in Vancouver. We've maybe been there. Like that really just makes it seamless so that your pretending is more rooted in a reality because you are in a reality that you like. I don't know. That's how I felt a little bit.
Well, I also felt like everyone had your back, right? So
yeah,
you could talk to Moira or Kelly or anybody, be like, can I have that and this? And they'd help you. So everything they were doing to help made you better and made the show better. And it was all a collaborative effort. There wasn't like anyone who was more or less important than anybody else.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it's a weird thing to say, but there's hierarchies of importance on a set, and the actors are always like up there, especially like while you're on set, and it's just some people project that and some people do not. And so I guess the one thing I take away from the set is that I think the equality of everybody on a film set is important, and they're people and they can be your friend, and nobody's better than anybody in the job that they have. It's just a different set of skills and we're all making something together. So honor that and treat people well, and also just be friends with everybody.
And be welcoming to new people, whether they're for a day or whether they're there for the season. And everyone is better and we're comfortable. The work is better. I mean, if the goal is, because we're there at a job, right? If the goal is the best work we can do, everyone does their best when they feel comfortable and safe. And I'm sure of the 3 of us have all been on a set where that was not the case. And
oh, many times, yes. I mean, I've been cried. I think 3 makeup people in my career made me cry. And I'm just like, why? Do you have to do this to this? Because again, it's a hierarchy. So if you're a day player, it's actor. I think this is what messes with all of our head as an actor. We're either the best, most important thing on a set, and everyone caters to your whims, or you are dirt. Like if you're a you're dirt, and it's like this psychology where you're
Needy
always
dirt.
like, you're always kind of ping-ponging back and forth between, and it's hard to be a guest in anybody's house, but especially when it's a work house where you've seen people be fired on a dime. Like, I don't know. Jim, have you ever done a sitcom?
Yeah. My
Multicam?
first series was a sitcom. And
What?
yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah. It was back in the 90s. It was called Thunder Alley. And I played Ed Asner's idiot sidekick. And,
What? I want to see this now.
Yeah, that's a very different kind of world, doing sitcom. And it's pretty easy to get that kind of feeling you were just talking about with the cast and crew and everybody being a family on a show like that. And it's been 25 years since I did that show, and I'm still very close with everybody on it.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah,
And
I
that's
think
not
because
always the case.
yeah, because it's not like, I'm sure we've all had jobs where we're like, okay, this is a job. Let me get off the set as soon as I can.
Yeah.
As either one of the actors is a jerk or that just the atmosphere. Like I did an episode of House and it wasn't terrible, but everybody was just on edge. And I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know who on the set is the one who blows up or is erratic or moody. And I'm not going to point out anybody that I worked with, but you could tell there's just one person that makes it not fun. And I'm just like, that's not fun. I mean, it's not good for anybody's work at the end of the day.
That's the thing that made Supernatural particularly good, is that you had two lead actors who really never made anybody sorry they were on the show.
Never.
Who were all loosey-goosey with whether you were there for your first day or you were there for your 15th season. They treated you like either family or very welcome guests. And it was cordial and it was loose. And the looseness, I think, considering how hard everybody worked on the show, the looseness of the work, it was kind of extraordinary, because you would gather from looking at us goofing around that we weren't getting anything done, but we were getting things done. We were getting a really good show done, but there was no sense of somebody's going to die if we don't get this right.
Yes. Yeah. It's not brain surgery, but it is family. And
well, you took the work seriously, but not ourselves. And I think that let us laugh. And if you're relaxed, then you can work hard without being like,
I can't tell you, because I kind of got my training. I mean, I never was a big, like, I was always like second, third choice for everything. And because I would get so nervous.
We all were.
I know, exactly. But I have a real anxiety problem. So I kind of self-sabotage every time I've tested. I was just like falling apart. So I booked a lot of commercials because I didn't care. I would have like 10 commercial auditions every week and I would make a huge, I was very successful because I just didn't care. And I would just show up and have a goof and they would hire me. But at the end of the day, I've never been treated worse than by commercial directors because you're a human meat bag. Okay. Like just pick up the, you need to hit this and it needs to be exactly like, if you don't like put the product, if the product doesn't look great, they're all like touching up the product and you're like, can I get some powder? Like, but if you have that sort of contempt, then you feel like, or like the couple times I did multicam, seeing somebody get fired right next to you. Cause I can't believe they didn't fire you, Sam. Like you didn't.
They should have.
I just can't believe it.
Every day I'd go home and I was like, well, that was so fun. Oh, well, every day. But I mean, speaking of people being horrible, I can't say what show it was, but there was a show where I got that call one night and I'd been booked for 2 episodes of a sitcom and I got a call from my agent. He said, normally this call is the call that you've been replaced, but you need to up your game. You're not hacking it. They're giving you one more chance tomorrow. And the next morning I was horrified, of course.
Terrified.
And I marched right up to the director and I was like, I will do whatever. Like, what am I doing wrong? How do I fix it? And he literally looked at me and he goes, what are you talking about? Because the woman on the show tried to get me fired.
Ah,
What?
Yes. So talk about sets that are not welcoming and friendly and yeah.
So wait, one of the actors on the show wanted to
Called
get
the
you fired,
producer.
so called the producer and complained about you, and the
And
producer
said she's
then
not
called
cutting it. She needs to. And the director
Wow.
was like, you're fine. What are you talking about?
Oh no, y'all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unreal,
It's
but not unreal, because I've
cutthroat
heard
out
so many
here.
worse. I've heard so many worse. And that's the thing about it, like that is one of the things in this industry that is a lot of people are being called out for the behavior, showrunners, people. But to this day, I know people working right now who are like, oh, this showrunner is a nightmare. He keeps yelling at everybody. Oh, this actor is a total awful. They're going to sleep during other people's coverage. And like, this is this week, last week. And so, there is an institution that just wants to get it done and they don't really care how it gets done. And so, because if there was accountability, then the network or the bosses would be like, you can't behave like this. You can't fall asleep on somebody's coverage. You can't yell at somebody. You can't be a toxic, awful person. But I think this industry is trained to kind of take care of whatever. If it stays on rails, it doesn't matter how it does. And I think that's really destructive and terrible, especially for people who are most vulnerable, because they're going to get all the poop that rains down on their head, right? And that's going to be the beginner people and the people who are probably marginalized from marginalized
Powerless.
backgrounds and all of this. Yeah, it's really upsetting.
I
fall
wonder though how
asleep
much.
during my own
Sorry,
coverage.
Jim. Go ahead.
Yeah, go
I
ahead, Jim.
fall asleep during my own coverage.
I've heard about you, Jim. This is actually an intervention. It's we've had some reports.
It's about time.
I just want to get a couple more questions before we end. Kim Rhodes is going to be here at the top of the hour, you guys. I want to thank all of you you have so many questions, but I like talking to my friends too much. I'm not going to get to all of them. If you weren't acting, what would you do? Starlet Nick asks. Not what you did want to do when you were younger, but if you had to stop acting now, what would you do instead? Education notwithstanding. So you could do whatever it is. Brain surgery. I'm just kidding.
I did a little bit of interior design and I think I'd go into rehabbing houses and doing interiors.
Oh, that'd be good.
Like rebuilding, like renovating antique houses.
That's one of my favorite shows on HGTV is the Detroit Woman. What is that called, you guys? I don't know. Anyway, yes.
I don't even watch that stuff. I just want to do it.
I'm gonna link you the show and
okay.
the show I love, and then you're gonna tell me who that person is to try to fire you off the air.
Okay.
Jim, what about you?
To try and come up with a serious answer, I would probably just devote myself to writing.
Well, you are an incredible writer. Like you've had many books published, correct?
Yeah.
And I've read them. They're wonderful.
It's hard work. It's a lot harder work than acting. So
yes,
I'm not in
discipline.
a hurry. I'm not in a hurry to depend fully on that. But the fact is, it's something I can manage to do if I get off my butt and do it. And I can't think of anything else I'd want to do.
Yeah. No, me neither. I think my backup plan, streaming. So my dream is to move to Europe, do streaming, and do my streaming, write, and we talked about this before. I'm going to move to Portugal and have a bakery. It's like I want to go and open the doors. It's going to be like a Nora Ephron movie. Well, I'll open the doors and like, it's all adorable, but it's real dusty, but only in a superficial way. And then I just dust it off and I'd be like, I'm going to learn how to make croissants. And then I start this little expat bakery in the middle of Portugal, but I'm not open all the time because it's just at my convenience. And
sure.
You like it? Am I painting a picture?
Yeah, I dig it. We want to live in Holland, so we'll come visit.
Wait, why do you want to live in Holland?
I love that part of the world. I think that I'm part Dutch. So I have an affinity for it, even though I don't speak Dutch or know any, of my Dutch family. Um, I love the mentality there. I think they're genius. I love the way they run their schools, and they're the best engineers in the world. And there's tulips, and it's close to the rest of Europe. It's right there.
I
Really
mean,
high standard quality of living.
yeah, it is true. And you have like a lot of resources. I love design houses, design TV shows, and like some of the most cool like renovations or original constructions are from Netherlands. So I
Yes.
think you'd be in good company. What about you? This is our wrap up question because Kim is in the wings waiting.
Yay,
So,
Kim.
Jim, where would you live if you could live anywhere under any circumstance? Where would you live?
Italy.
Oh,
Yeah, I've got uh, I've got a real feel for Italy, and uh, I mean, it might not be. I've spent a lot of time there, but I can't say I know what it's like to actually live there, and it could all be an illusion, but the illusion is really cool.
well,
So,
I'm kind of obsessed with Instagram. They have a bunch of Instagram accounts where you basically it features cheap houses, and I can't tell you how many cheap houses there are in Italy. In fact, there are many cities that will pay you. I saw an article yesterday about a city that's paying people $33,000 to come and live in the city. So, like, this could be a very low cost entry for you.
yeah,
This is my dream for you, Jim.
yeah. Well, all I got to do is talk my family into going with me. So
Yeah, you
But it's
probably.
Italy. Who wouldn't want
they
to go
might
to
have some other
Italy?
ideas about where they want to live.
Well, your
So,
kiddo is in what? So first year college or
no,
what?
she's finishing up her last semester at AMDA in New York.
Oh wow! So you're an actor.
Yeah.
What, now, I would love for you to leave us the advice that you gave her to get into acting because I know a lot of people love acting and they were
Well,
thinking about it.
I didn't advise her to get into it,
What do
but
you
I
do?
said, I just told her to read everything she can get her hands on: plays, scripts, biographies,
Hmm.
theater history. Know what you're doing, know what the world is before you dive into it,
Amazing.
and never make anybody sorry they hired you.
Yeah, I think I've probably done that a couple times.
I doubt that.
Again, I was an idiot and I didn't know what I was getting into and I did not know what I was doing. And like a lot of it was like, can I do this? What would you like me to do? I'm a human puppet. Like now at least I feel like I've gotten some opinions, but early on, it's all about your opinions and your point of view. And if you can convey that, then you're kind of gold. Well, thank you guys for being here. I
Thank you for
can't
having us.
Oh my gosh, you guys are brilliant. I could talk for hours.
Such a pleasure. It's so good to see you, Sam.
You too, Jim. It's been too long.
It has.
Hopefully we'll all have our paths cross at some wonderful place where we can see fans but also see each other because it really is a pleasure. The
Likewise.
Supernatural is a family and it never will end. All right, bye you guys. Thank you
Bye bye.
guests. In the wings we have Kim Rhodes, who is incredible, and I want to thank everybody for being here, for asking questions I didn't get to, because yeah. So we'll be right back. everybody. Welcome to the second hour of my amazing live stream with some of my favorite people in the world. This is my podcast, Felicitations Live, and boy, oh boy, do we have an incredible guest for our second hour. I so adore this woman, not only because she is incredible at what she does, and she is an incredible example of somebody who has an just amazing a career, but also is super grounded, super loving, creates community wherever she goes, and it's just smart, smart, smart. I will never forget our traveling back. We were in Europe or something, and we're traveling together. If I were gonna do that reality show where you have what is that one called? Where you travel everywhere with one other person, I think she would be probably top 5 that I would choose. Anyway, the wonderful, stupendous Kim Rhodes. Hi, Kim.
Hey.
I have to tell
And
you,
likewise, we can go anywhere. I'll go anywhere with you. I'm down.
amazing race. We could do Amazing Race together, couldn't we, Kim?
I would. Okay, I as we were discussing before this, I'm old and tired. If they came up with like an amazing saunter,
Amazing Saunter. Okay, yeah.
yeah, amazing wander aimlessly, that
Yeah.
I could do that.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing, also, they always make you once a season always eat something weird, and I'm not into eating grubs. I'm just not going to do it. I don't care how much you pay
Oh.
me or what platform you put me on.
Do we both have to do it? I'll eat the weird things.
Wait, so you're okay with eating weird stuff?
My growth tolerance is remarkably high.
What's the grossest thing you've ever eaten? Like on a dare? Have you eaten sweetbreads and stuff like that?
Yeah. Well, I don't like, that's weird. What have I even eaten that's gross?
I mean, you know, like have you eaten fried crickets or
No, I
something like
totally
that?
would. I hear they are a little like Rice Krispies.
Yeah, they're crunchy because they're just, I mean, if you think about it, like I love soft shell crab and that's just a big bug, right? It's just a big
Yeah.
bug. So I could just
Well,
eat
no,
roly
it's
polies.
an arachnid. Yeah, it's an it's like
A
big
crab is
spider.
not it's arachnid?
No, it's not. I mean, but like there's 8. Don't they have 8? Isn't it more like a spider than a bug?
Is it? I hope I have an entomologist slash marine biologist in chat who could inform us of that.
Make someone fix me.
It does have 8 legs. It does have crustaceans have 10 legs. Okay, I have a mod who is an authority in this. It's an arthropod. Okay, it's a crustacean. Cricket tastes like chicken. Not all right. You're not helping, Chad. I'm not looking at you anymore. Kim, how are you?
I'm exhausted.
Why are you exhausted? I need to hear all of it.
So loopy. I have for a year now, I've been working at a barn. So I am,
This is like a COVID life change. What's going on?
I mean, it kind of was, it wasn't on purpose, but it happened and I just went with it. I'm like, okay, I guess this is what I do now. So I teach writing lessons to small children, and I'm exhausted in particular right now because last week, this week, and next week I'm also running the camp. So in the morning from 8 to 2, I'm in charge of 24 children and 4 horses.
That's a
And
lot
then
to do.
starting at 2, my lessons start. So I've got kids I'm teaching one-on-one.
Okay, I need to hear all about this because this
But
is
that's what you got.
I mean, because but one of the questions was, what have you picked up during COVID? That was the first one I asked Jim and Sam, who both say hi to you. And yeah, they're pretty great. They're not here anymore, but they're pretty great. And I mean, Jim had nothing, but Jim's crotchety. And then Sam has her sewing and her amazing crafts. So yours is writing?
A complete and utter lifestyle change. Yes. Yes. I now work at a barn.
But you used to ride anyway for fun, right? And you had your own horse. That's what I remember that part.
It was, so my horse was a lease. So it's like you timeshare an animal. And when COVID,
is there an app for that?
Right?
Just looking for a horse to rent. Just want to split it 6 ways.
This morning.
The horse is like, no.
Beginner friendly. So yeah, when when things started going south for me, I couldn't afford my lease anymore. And I was
How is
like,
this
I
south?
only
Is this
have,
just acting? Is this an acting issue
yeah,
because you didn't work as much acting?
yes, that is a very kind way of putting it.
No, that's
Yeah.
horrible because you're so
So
talented. You're incredible. That makes me sad and hate this industry. But hey,
oh,
I haven't worked in a year and a half either, so.
yeah, it happens, and we have a shelf life in this industry, especially as women,
Yep.
and nobody gives you a pink slip. Nobody is like, "This is your last job, and now you can retire." But at some point, you go,
Yeah.
"Well, I don't even have health insurance anymore. Oh, I
Yep.
can't pay. Oh, I have a 76-cent residual check,
Yep.
and I remember it because it's the only one I've had for a while." So,
Uh-huh.
I was like, "There's only so many of my mom's jewels that I'm willing to sell to keep affording my horse." And they said, "Well, do you want to teach?" And I said, "And you'll let me keep riding?" They said, "Yes." I said, "I am
Amazing.
in."
What?
And so it started as like this thing, and then it turns out I actually do not suck at it.
I mean,
Um,
you're incredible. You're a mentor. I mean, if anything I ever would have thought that you had this incredible talent. It's inspiring and mentoring other people. You do have that
it's
incredible quality.
and that's what I'm doing. That's what I get to do now. I have these little people, and the best thing is because I mean, and then camp is really very it's great for me. It's fun. I'm finding a lot of talents I didn't know I have. I'm finding a lot of skills that weirdly like conventions taught me, like knowing when to put a button on something. Like
Mhm.
there's the applause line. Let's move on now. Just working it. Um,
Amazing.
so
And
so yeah,
so
so
is it
I'm with
you?
horses and kids.
I mean, that's incredible. I mean, it's obviously not. I mean, what makes me sad is that it feels like, I don't mean to get too deep, but it's like is part of your heart given up on acting a little bit? Or is it
Hmm.
just, yes? So, but you still have an agent?
No, I I don't know.
No, Kim.
Don't know.
I want to get this career back on track because you're too damn gorgeous and talented not to be
I,
working. People tell me this
I
all the time, and I'm like, okay, you should be on TV more. I'm like, show me how. Okay, that is how
yeah.
acting is.
It's
But
it's honestly, I haven't closed the door to it, but I'm not. I I was like, oh, finally, I can let go of like really holding on to what it's almost. Oh, I'm so I'm so, okay, and now I can just be
yeah,
like, I'm gonna eat whatever the fuck I want. Oh,
that's
I'm sorry,
okay.
Twitch.
That's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
Don't worry
I'm
about it. It's
sorry.
okay. It's okay. Twitch, it's fine. Twitch, it's fine.
Twitch. I'm sorry, Twitch. Um, but yeah, so I'm gonna eat whatever I want, and I gonna let my Botox leave, and I'm gonna let my hair be gray, and
Your hair
I'm
looks
gonna be.
bitchin'. Okay, it
Thank
is
you.
so sexy.
I'm letting it be feral. Well, you cut yours really super short, right?
I did before, but
And
last year it was like down to booby level. And then I just like, you know what? This is where I'm going. I just took new Kim, I took my last I'm going to associate with you a little bit. That I This is my
um,
last set of headshots I'm taking. I just got my last, and that's going to be it. If I don't get some work, I mean, this will be it. It'll probably skate me maybe 5 years, but maybe not. And I'm just like, I'm okay with it because the year of COVID, not having that sort of desperation, not having the complete rejection, not having the thing where I'm like, I want to be okay with the way I look, regardless of what I think other people think about me, is so
yeah,
liberating and wonderful. It's a sensation that I don't want to let go of. And I don't want to get dragged back to that place where I start feeling insecure and feeling like I'm not enough. And then I get so nervous and I betray myself and I hate myself afterwards. It's this horrible cycle that for 20 years almost, because I started when I was looking, it's been there. And to be unhooked from it, was COVID sort of like this psychological shift for you in that way? Because it was for me.
it it was a beautiful it was a beautiful perfect storm. For me, what happened last year in May, because my daughter is autistic, and so I had a bunch of downtime with my daughter. I was like, I'm gonna get informed. Um, And so met a couple of really lovely people in England. One is a doctor and one is an advocate. Both are autistic, and they really kind of enveloped me and were helping me a lot with my daughter. And they suggested that I take some of the tests that my daughter would have taken, like to kind of go through the same process and get in touch with like the experience that she had was how I understood it. And so I took all the tests, and I'm super autistic. And so I was like, I'm autistic. I'm autistic. Right, because the first test I took was not a credible result, and they were like, "Which test did you take?" I'd taken the wrong one, and I wanted so badly because it all made sense. And then once I was like, the thing,
Wow.
and they apparently then they said because, Dr. Chloe said, "Yeah, I asked Harry, has she talked to you about her own neurodivergence?" And he said, "I don't think she knows." Like, it was so obvious to them, and I just so this is by way of answering your question, I'm following the thread back. So it wasn't so much COVID as it was me realizing that so much of my anxiety and deep belief of what I should be was actually neurotypical bias. And once I gave myself permission to be neurodivergent and start taking masks off, I realized that all of these things I thought I wanted to be and shapes I wanted to conform to are just impossible. It's just my internalized ableism.
You're blowing my mind right now because when you
Uh,
said I'd love to talk about late diagnosis autism, I thought it was because of your kiddo. I thought, oh, maybe she was like 5 or 6. Like the fact that you are talking about yourself right now
50, 50.
is incredible. So you have been diagnosed as neurodivergent on the spectrum.
I have
I mean, I don't know. I don't know all the terminology. I would love for you to
yeah,
educate me, and because I've never heard of someone who was older to be a lot of
it's
my friends
very okay. So the term diagnosis
mhm,
is a very specific term. I have not been diagnosed as autistic
okay.
because it needs an American doctor and an American doctor who is capable of diagnosing a developmental disability, which is what autism is classified as,
Huh.
generally start around $10,000. My daughter's
Wow.
workup was $16,000.
Wow.
I am
Okay.
picking up horse poop so that I can feed my family ramen. So that's the word around an actual diagnosis. And then
Yes.
with that, there's a lot of question of why do we need neurotypical approval to stamp our neurodivergent experience?
Yeah, that's interesting.
So
Yeah.
that's also part. So I am comfortable claiming
Mhm.
neurodivergence. I'm comfortable saying am I autistic. I cannot clinically say I have been diagnosed. And I
Gotcha.
understand that there are people that will be like, then it's BS.
Yeah.
And you're welcome to feel that way. I don't care
Well,
actually.
clearly you have a lot to I mean, you have a child who is when was your child diagnosed in a sense?
He was absolutely diagnosed. She was diagnosed at the age of 4.
4. Wow.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
the more I discover about the disability, the more autism would explain a lot of what my father experienced.
Oh, wow. Yeah, well, in retrospect, we could see I mean, I don't know enough about autism to know about, like, genetic lineage and all this thing, and I'm sure it is something that a lot of people are studying, but it's certainly interesting to notice when you're familiar with actual, things, about either, something like this, then you can kind of see like, "Oh, that's very interesting." Because I mean, I didn't know I had an anxiety disorder until I was, like, over 30, and, like, it literally ruled my life in a way where I was hampered. in so many ways. And the minute I actually started adding it up and investigating it and getting help in treatment and slowly but surely coming toward a medication, delaying it way farther than I should have because I would have been a lot more functional had I been diagnosed a lot earlier. Um, they're all things that kind of add up your past in a way that you never could have added up before because you just didn't have the puzzle pieces to put it together.
Yep.
Is that how
Yeah.
you feel when you look back at some of the things that frustrated you, but you didn't understand why?
Oh, so much. It all makes so much sense. I'm like, oh, you sweet, sweet little bunny. Try like because it's interesting. A lot of people associate autism with deficiencies.
Mhm.
So when I told I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm autistic." I got one of two responses down the line. My husband not accepted because my husband is beautiful and wonderful and is but I either got yeah, and or I got no, you're not.
Oh, yep.
I- People because I was like, listen, who's the one that when we're sitting around talking about vulnerable moments in our life when we felt a little scared, and I'm like, I throw getting raped on the table. Like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What? I'm like, isn't that what we're doing? Isn't that how we're bonding? Isn't that I did not. That was wrong. That was that's I did wrong. But that was my grotesquely oversharing because I
Yeah.
don't understand where boundaries are.
Mhm.
Um, hyper um empathy where I don't know where your feelings end and mine begin. Over like you're too much, you're over dramatic, you're too loud,
Mhm, mhm.
you're too and meanwhile I'm trying really hard to be small. I don't know I don't have the same scale as other people.
Yeah.
Um and a lot of like I would joke with Brianna because classically, it's like, well, if you could, any question that starts with if, I am going to go down the rabbit hole of, well, was I born in a different reality? Can I change back to this? Can I like if you start with an if, I can't. I I can't, and it helps me. I saw somebody the other day in a shirt that said, "Be specific. I'm autistic." I was like,
That's incredible. That's
you
incredible.
know, parents at camp will be like, "What's your background?" Like, I understand you want to ask me a specific question. Will you please ask me the specific question? Because I'm either going to tell you
Everything.
my background is a painting, or I'm going to say, well, I was born in Portland, Oregon in 1969. And then like, just tell
Yeah.
me, you want to know if I'm going to keep your kid from dying today because you're nervous about how scattered I seem?
Mhm.
Great. That's a
Yeah.
valid question.
So I have a question because I'm ignorant about it and I'm not sure if you have an answer. So I've always, what I know from little I know about autism is that on the spectrum, there's classific people use the term Asperger's syndrome. So is that on the high? Do I know any? I don't know anything about how that works.
Wait,
Although
I
I've
love that you said this.
okay,
Many people hear the word spectrum, but see a visual ladder
I
or
do
line.
too. Yes, it's like a heat line or something, right? Yes.
That is not my experience, and that is not what the autistic community would like people to see. It is a color wheel.
Mhm.
It is a spectrum.
Mhm.
And so classifying high functioning, low functioning is like classifying blue as more of a color than red.
Got you.
But we tend to discuss our support needs. Now, when you see someone whose support needs are met, my disability is not obvious. However, if you see me when my support needs are not met, I am clearly in distress, and I'm in distress in a very atypical way. The other thing is in terms of the word functioning,
Mhm.
most people mean that as functioning like typical people, typical
Well, yeah,
society.
because it's using a relative, you are functioning compared to how we the normative, and which is
Exactly.
very relative and also very insulting because you're using a measure that why should that be the measure, right?
Exactly. Exactly. That's the, oh, the analogy went away from my head. But yes, so I want very much to speak only for myself,
Mhm.
but I understand the the term Asperger's is no longer considered something that we like because of the Nazi reference.
Okay, great.
Um,
I'm being educated a lot. I really do apologize. I
no,
had this is something that I'm new and I will throw it out. Okay, let's throw Asperger's out because a lot of people are telling me also in chat that it was used to be used as a terminology. It is now. Now there is a spectrum that people are, I suppose, diagnosed with or placed on. I'm not even sure of the terminology. So please,
it's
please
it's
feel
in
free to
terms of
correct me.
support needs.
Yes.
It's
Okay.
support needs and where I most like I think it's also what I experience. Like some of us, I have sensory issues. I did not know I had sensory issues. I
Mhm.
just knew things made me crazy. And why wouldn't people stop making the noises? And why won't you talk louder? Because there's music over there, and I can't hear you when there's music playing.
Mhm.
Um, uh, it's processing disorder. There's a number of things I believe, just in terms of neurodivergence itself. Uh, uh, ADHD is now
Mhm.
considered is under the umbrella.
Oh.
PTSD is under the umbrella. Anything that is wiring our brain away from what is considered a typical function.
Mhm.
I want to go back and I want to be really clear, Felicia. I don't believe anyone needs to apologize for not knowing something before they learned it.
No, no, I appreciate
You
that,
know,
and I love the fact that I can be educated, our chat can be educated. I even have somebody in chat. I love Kim. I literally went through this throughout quarantine because I'm studying psychology, and I learned that I'm also autistic, and everything makes sense now. So this is an incredible, incredible revelation for you, especially being the mother of an autistic child. Like, how has this been between you and her? How has this connection deepened your relationship? How does she see you in a different light? Like, is there any dynamic change between you two?
in a while, yes, the dynamic has shifted on my end because no matter how much I may believe she's not doing something on purpose, if it feels personal, I want her to change it.
Mhm.
And so dialing it back and dialing back the demands and dialing back the demands. And now when we are 15 minutes late and I have tweezers and a necklace and I'm trying to squeeze the link. It's not a necklace I'm wearing, not a necklace I'm ever going to wear. I just discovered a link was up. And my husband comes in and goes, what are you doing? And I just look up and say, I have to do this. And he says, okay. And we wait and like I can't not. If the house were on fire, I would think twice. And I would probably take the tweezers and the necklace with me and finish it outside once I knew the animals were safe.
Wow.
Um, and that helps me with her because she can't not. Now, where we can have a little dicey is when she can't not, and I can't not, and our because ultimately for both of us, we experience our autism with a lot of anxiety attached.
Mhm.
So I'm sure you can relate. Once the anxiety gets triggered, the logical this I should not be having this large of a reaction doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm on fire. And so what I've just gotten much better at doing is just stepping away. And I
Mhm.
say, I can't function when I feel like this. I give myself permission to step away. And she used to come after me because I wouldn't step away until we'd reached 11.
Yeah.
Now I step away at a 3 and
Oh,
she
that's so
understands and lets
great.
me go.
Yeah, and I was corrected again in chat. It is people are saying that not autistic child is child with autism. So,
No, absolutely not. We prefer autistic.
okay.
The
So,
autistic community does not like any more than you would say a person with deafness.
mhm.
It is a deaf person.
Okay, great.
Because no, I appreciate the emotion that comes with this. But a disability is not the same thing as a disease. So the autistic community that I am a part of feels that I would prefer to be called autistic than a person with autism. Also because we think very literally, and all of a sudden I'm carrying around a little satchel that's name
With
is
your autism in
autism,
it.
and here's Kim with autism, and I've left my
Yeah.
autism in the car today. That said, if there are people with autism who prefer that, oh, cool. Then
Yeah.
that's who you are, and that's how I will refer to you. But in general, the autistic community that I am familiar with overall prefer to be called autistic rather than people with autism.
Amazing. I feel like my whole world is being opened up by you, and I just want to thank you for that. And also creating a discussion in the chat, and also just being so transparent about it. And the fact that you do seem so free in a way and embodied in yourself. And I think that it's so you're like, first of all, you're glowing and you're so gorgeous, but you always are. It's a sense of settledness and wholeness in you that I haven't seen before, and I just want I don't know, do you feel that way?
It so there's a I do, and I thank you for that, and I thank you for seeing it. I think we've always like for as little time as we get to spend with each other, I think we see each other
Mhm.
like, oh, there, you're my people.
Yeah.
And
You're one of those people who I'm like, we could not see each other for 5 years, I'd be like, "Oh, we're right there." I don't know
yeah,
why
we're
that
good.
is. I don't feel like we're best friends or anything, but there is I think sometimes people meet other people who don't have as many barriers between each other's souls or something, and so sometimes you just fit and you're just like, I feel like we could hang out at any time, whatever circumstance. So when I say you glow, I feel like your soul feels very whole in a sense, and I'm curious to as to what my perception of that. Do you feel that after all this experience?
I I do. I think a lot of it is again the permission. Once I realized that I thought I was trying to attain a goal. I thought
Mhm.
I was trying to become someone and get something. And in this new framework, I realized what I was doing was masking, which is a learned behavior that came from a feeling of danger.
Hmm.
So it isn't a deliberate lie. A lot of people are like, you can let your mask down. Like, I don't know if I'm doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
But as I look at myself in this new framework, I am allowed to be more authentic because the first step of going, I need to become this thing so that I'm safe
Mhm.
was just taken away from me. You're never going to be that thing.
Yeah.
So once that was gone and I was left with this, now I'm able to just kind of go, oh, what is my truth? As opposed to what do you want me to be so that
Yeah,
I'm okay?
there's a sense of walking around so careful that you don't show yourself to the world because you might mess up. And that's how I always approach acting. Because I always went into a situation, I don't know, it's when I'm under pressure, I betray myself, right? And whether there's deeper problems that I need to go to, but mostly it was the anxiety. So walking into certain situations, I'm just like, okay, I wish I have my armor on, but it's the armor that doesn't allow your authentic self to be there because you feel like your authentic self is either going to betray you or just not be accepted, right? And
Yep.
there's a certain freedom in, you know what, this is me. If you don't like me, it's I don't I, it's always something that I've aspired in my life to achieve, and I feel like I have a glimpse of it now. And when you have it, you just want to kind of eat it up.
It feels nice. It's a good and I'm not I don't that it isn't my bar. It's not where my bar is set. And it certainly is something that slips away. And then I lie in bed and cry and say, I don't understand why I'm taking up air on this planet. I
Yeah.
do that too,
Hmm.
regularly. Not as regularly as I used to, but I've done it within the last week, and those were the words I said.
Oh,
Um, I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm breathing oxygen that better people need.
It's a horrible feeling. It really is. And this is not the world. It's funny how COVID can bring out the best and the worst. I mean, obviously, during this time, you've discovered so much about yourself, but also the pressures, the financial, the emotional, the physical pressures of it all.
Oh,
It has been testing everybody on every level. And what now that we're opening up, I've gotten a lot of just comments, people, even in cameos, are just like, can you tell me it's going to be okay? Because I am losing it. And I think that we all are underestimating the opening up the world is such a going to, it was jarring to be taken away from it. And then we go into emergency mode for a year and a half. And then suddenly, let's just go out and have a party. Like it's not, a lot of people's brains at least can't handle that crazy shift. Also, our brains finally relaxing. And it's like, now you can feel the things that you've been suppressing for a year. It's a lot.
yes. Yes. Well, and we were in a primal survival mode.
Yeah. As much as we
And
have been. I mean, of course, 2,000 years ago, their villages or cities were being torn down. Everyone was being enslaved, like the ancient Greeks and there's been
our
bad
cities
times.
are burning. Our
Yes.
cities are burning
But we are
and they are
yes.
flooding.
We have a lot going on in our society that is atypical to what our norm is. And whenever you have that sort of jarring of existence and roles and things like that, your brain just starts hiccuping, right? And
Yeah.
so going through all that, I mean, is COVID kind of opening up? Is that affecting you at all? Now that you can be more aware of you as a person and how you react to things, do you notice things that you're having to adjust to in good or bad ways now that the world is getting a little more relaxed?
I um wow, no other words are coming to me, so I'm just going to say the ones that are there. I hate people a lot more than I thought I did. I love individuals. There is not a person's eyes that I look into that I am not capable of loving. But I freaking hate what 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 I recognize that what that is just I've been alone with my own priorities for a year, right? So
Yeah, we
for a
all have.
year, I got to be with my priorities in my world and look at the unveiling of reality through my own personal lens.
Hmm.
And now I'm back out and looking at other people whose priority is doing 75 when we're all doing 45.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure my priorities are right, but that's all it is that I've been alone with my priorities and I lost those calluses.
Yeah.
I lost those things where I'm just like, "Oh, you're doing it differently. Oh, you're doing it differently. Oh, no, no, no." And instead, I'm like, "You just threw a cigarette out your window and I am going to I'm gonna follow you now."
Yep.
It's just I don't have the buffer that I used to have.
I mean, no, quite frankly, like I never thought I wouldn't want to live in a huge, huge city. Like, I love humanity. I love experiences. I love being exposed to so many people, so many backgrounds, some of this. And for the first time in my life, I'm like, might be okay to live on a farm. Like for the first time in my life, because you're right. I have not heard it put so succinctly, but being able to prioritize your own needs and your own being is very rare because, especially in Hollywood, we are at service and our being is at service to other people to grab and use as they want and then move on. Because I mean, I've never been like a regular on a TV series, only my own. It was the only one that I haven't been written out of or killed or, on hold, maybe, but
Yeah.
like no one's ever put a ring on it. So I've never felt like I belonged, right? And so, but I always had that desperate sense of like staring in the shop window, just wanting to be accepted, right? And so COVID forcing me to unplug from that made me realize how unhealthy I was seeing myself and my whole circumstances and how maybe there are other possibilities of being outside of always being on a shelf waiting to be picked up.
Yeah, of allowing somebody else's definition of me to define my happiness.
Yes, 100%. And I think having a kid, I don't know if this jarred you. Your kiddo was what, 10, 11?
13, she's 13.
How did
I
she?
know. I know. How did it happen?
I know. I just and so, it is a big world, but it also makes you prioritize yourself a little bit because you don't want to make yourself diminished in front of this person who you are their world, right? And that's like a big pickup or just a big change in the way you see yourself. I don't know if you had that experience.
It, it's a challenge. I'm torn between the way I was parented and the way I want to parent, which are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was parented by a woman that I loved more than I loved light. Um, but she was so deeply conditioned to be right, to be proper, to be on the outside what the world expected a lady to be.
Wow.
And I was not, and now, of course, again, it makes
You get it. I
sense
was about to say
that
that
I
probably.
couldn't be the child she wanted me to be
Yeah.
because I because I couldn't. But at the time, all I wanted was to be this child my mom wanted me to be, and I kept
Wow.
failing. So then I turned into, the gothic child hanging out in bombed out buildings because if I can't join them, I might as well beat them.
Yeah.
Um, and so I want to make sure that with my child, she defines who she is. And I own my mistakes,
Yeah.
which were two things that were not present as I was parented. But I don't have an example for what that looks like. So there's a lot of flying blind in my parenting
Yeah.
that
No,
I'm kind of like, well,
same thing with me. Yeah. And I 100% would rather her be exactly who she is and have that sense of, because I think when you are raised, I think we might have this in common where you feel a little hollow inside and you're always like building up layers on the outside of yourself, but you don't really know who you are inside because you're so focused on either controlling yourself or controlling the situation outside of you and how other people, you know, and it is the sort of hollow chocolate bunny kind of feeling. And so the only thing I care about my kid is that she gets to discover who she is and be completely authentic to herself, whether it's beekeeping or art, being an artist or a doctor or literally, or a masseuse. I don't care what she decides to do with herself as long as she wholly feels like she's doing the thing that she's meant to do and wants to do.
that's beautifully put. I
Oh.
completely agree.
Kiana asks, if you guys have a couple questions for Kim, let me know. Obviously, there's some amazing things we're talking about here and of her discovery of herself and just life in general. Kiana asks, Kim, did trying to fit into a neurotypical world draw you to acting? Which I think is very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Like in retrospect, like at the time, yes, what I wanted was to be able to have my big, 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 big feelings um, in a safe environment. And
Mhm.
acting was the only place where I could have that.
Wow.
Because in the real world, when I would have big, 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 big feelings, I would be punished. My family called them tantrums, but they were tantrums that now we know are autistic meltdowns.
Yeah.
So I had all of these huge feelings, but I needed to know what the other person was going to say in order to feel safe expressing them. And
Mhm.
in the acting, that's exactly what you get to do. You get to have your big feelings, but there's a script.
Yeah. You kind of know what's going to happen, so you could just let it all go because you know it's almost like staying on a freeway. You're like, "Oh, I'm on a freeway, so I could drive however you're playing Mario Kart. So you know you can't go off the edge, but you can drive however the hell you want on the Um, what is the best thing that has come out of this diagnosis? Chelsea asks, which I'm
um,
still fascinated with
I,
this. I think this is a book you need to write about your journey
I,
here.
again, oh, I actually was gonna off air at some point. I wrote a children's book that my
Oh,
friend is illustrating. I'll send it to you because I think you'll like it. It's about a goat and a dog.
yes,
But it's
please.
about this. It's about a goat who doesn't know and becomes.
Yes,
Um,
send it
but
to me.
I would say the best thing that's come out of this is not being so hard on myself. Just
Mm,
being much more gentle with, oh, that's why. I'm not broken. I'm different. And I spent half a century punishing myself for being broken because everybody else obviously could do this thing and was doing it perfectly well. And I was passing, I was
wow.
faking it. And even when I was faking it, everybody knew I was a little bit weird, a little bit like, uh, and so now I have much more empathy for myself with just being like, "Oh, sweetie, of course you're the one who threw that reference in the that was not," or, "Oh, no, that wasn't the joke. That's not funny. That's not
Yeah, it's kind of
wasn't
like the
funny."
older you get, you just want that parent to hug you and be like, I don't care what you're doing or who you are. I love you exactly the way you are. And I tell my
Yeah.
daughter that a lot. But like I don't know if I don't think I had that, or that at least I didn't have that feeling as a kid. And so that's I think what we always seek. And when somebody asked about the acting, I was like, yes, because I think half of actors get into this business because they're seeking a love that they can never get from whoever they're seeking it from. And so they seek it from strangers,
Yes.
but those strangers are abusive. They are. They're the strangers who hire you as an actor are abusive. They're abusive strangers.
Yes. The business and the art are 2 such drastically different things. Like, no one gets into
Exactly.
acting for the business of it. Everyone gets into acting for the art of it. And unfortunately, the business of it has to, have a kidney in the
Exactly.
process.
Kim, somebody has a really great question. You definitely should write a book. As someone who's struggling with sensory issues, your story would help a lot. If you're looking to publish, check out Inspired Girl Books. They're a lovely company. So I want you to write
Aw.
that down because I do think that, first of all, you're an incredible artist. And I know that we talked about screenplays and things like that before, but this could really be a book that's useful for people and also used for because for me to write my autobiography, I know people are like, you were way too young, and I probably was, but at the same time, examining yourself from an objective point of view and be able to convey it to other people, your journey to other people in a way that you're trying to give them a lesson is like the most valuable thing that I have ever done because it allowed me to step outside myself and serve myself in a way that I, for flexible, was doing all the time, but I was treating my own journey like a teaching tool. And it made me realize a lot of things about who I am and made me seek a lot of help along the way that I would never have had I not written that book. So I would just, as a friend, urge you to.
What you truly inspire. I mean, like, I've been thinking about a friend of mine, I was telling him about something else. He's like, you need to write about or you need to write a book about how you've survived everything. I'm like, I've gone on the other side of that apparently not everyone has. And if they have, what do you do? What do you do? How do you find someone who's willing to honestly and with a sense of humor just be like, yeah, and then that happened. Ah,
Exactly. No, you have amazing stories in your life. You've overcome so many things. You've gone through so many things, and I think in this state of being uncensoredly Kim, this would be like the a really I think it would be great for you, but also great for the world to be able to
it'd
see
be
read
fun.
it.
There would
So
be much horse poop.
um, cute little kitty asks, obviously having a label has helped you understand yourself a lot. Are you worried or do you think being labeled neurodivergent might change how others perceive you or how you perceive yourself? So I think that's interesting, like, especially if you choose to pursue acting a little more seriously or anything, going to convention, like, do you feel like people are going to see you differently? And are you worried
Well,
about that
see,
or not really?
this is one of the conversations we had to have, and I've had with other members of the autistic community when we were looking at my daughter in terms of the word label. Here's the thing:
Yeah.
I am labeled no matter what. I'm labeled too much. I'm labeled weird. I'm labeled wrong. I'm labeled dramatic. I'm labeled a problem. I'm labeled obtuse. I am labeled matter what. When I choose the label, I put myself back in power. Is that going to change how people see me? I hope so, because it's a label that I chose as opposed to a label that they chose for me that they that is comfortable for them to excuse my behavior and somehow make how I present myself comfortable to them.
Yeah.
Well, that's not my job. It's not my job to take care of how they see me.
Yep.
Um, so am I worried? No, I don't think anybody really cares.
I
Um,
mean, I think that it's going to be a revelation. I mean, did you see my face during this podcast? I literally did. I had you said, like I said, you said late age diagnosis of autism. I'm like, oh, it's interesting. I haven't really talked about her her kiddo, and suddenly you come out, and my mouth. I literally had to close my jaw because I noticed it was just hanging open, like I could catch some flies in it, and so I really think it's something that even people reading chat right now, sorry podcast people, you're not here, but saying that they can't get a diagnosis or they had relatives diagnosed later in life, and this is certainly something that you don't really hear about.
it's very, especially for people who present typically, who my support needs are not something that are always recognized.
Mm-hmm.
I do find, and they're more obvious now that I'm no longer feeling compelled to mask,
Yeah.
but it's still things that I've learned to turn into a joke or to twist or to, be concerned with the other person's needs.
Yeah.
But people who present in a typical way often are not diagnosed because the diagnosis comes, we attach we attach dysfunction to the
Mm-hmm.
notion of disability. So if someone's functioning, clearly they must not be disabled. I'm like, I'm just functioning in your eyes,
Yeah.
falling apart in my experience.
Wow. And so, um, I hear you about the acting. You're feeling like it's not gonna go further with you, but I want to just encourage. I just want to encourage you because you are so magical and so talented, and I
Anywhere.
understand
I
there's
mean, if somebody calls me, I'm
yeah,
not going to turn them down, but
exactly. Are you going to be doing? I asked this for Sam and Jim. Are you going to be doing any conventions? Because people want to meet you, and also I just would love you to shout out to the audience. If anybody would be able to go and see you in person, are you doing supernatural cons,
I'm
non
doing
supernatural cons?
Kansas City with Sam.
Everybody's doing Kansas City. Gosh darn
I
it!
know. It's mayhem. Kansas City and then Shreveport the weekend after that, which is I
Nice.
think called GeekCon. My
Mm-hmm.
apologies if I'm getting those confused. My names and my locations, but I'm going to Shreveport after that. And then once creation comes back again, I'm scheduled to do some creation events.
Yes,
But
and they're
also,
just coming back. I think they're coming back in. I'm supposed to do New Orleans, I think.
yeah, I think that's supposed to be their first one.
Hmm.
And even those I'm kind of like, might be hurricanes. Might not get there. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just kind of do you just the whole journey of going to a convention has so many like, oh, getting in the car, going to the airport, going through security, being picked up by a stranger. Like all of them has so many like components that I haven't been exposed to. I'm just thinking it through. I'm getting anxious. Like, is there now that you are more self-aware um, of the way that you some of the reasons why you react to some things and also what certain things elicit in you and reasons for it. Do you think you'll approach conventions in a different way? Are you looking forward to them? Are you dreading them? Like what?
Um, I'm a little dreading them. I'm a little looking forward to them. I think I will be less I think I'll be gentler with myself. I will step away when I need to step away. I have a hard time maintaining boundaries because, like I said, one of the things, like, there's this perception of autism that we are not empathetic. And that has not been my experience at all. If anything, we don't know how to not have another person's feeling. Like, my experience when I'm on stage and someone asks me a question and becomes emotional is that 90% of well, 85% of me is feeling that I am consumed with their feelings. And the other 15% of me is going, am I making the right face? Are you making a face that's insulting? Make sure you're making the right face. Is this your interested face? Should you be looking in the person's eyes right now? Okay, now look away because now you're making it weird, Kim. You're making it super weird. And there's times when I'm like, yep, I'm making it weird. But everybody says, oh, you're making me cry. Or
Wow.
but because at conventions, there are moments where just I can't put the mask on, and
Mhm.
just what's in my heart comes pouring out of my mouth. And every single time in the past, I've regretted it. Every single time I've been ashamed, no matter how many people clap, no matter how many people say they were moved by it. I feel like I did the equivalent of taking my clothes off.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now I know what it is. And I'm just going to be like, okay, sweetie, you need to go sit down and have a candy bar now. Stop feeling like you have to hug everyone that needs you.
Yeah. Well,
Reset.
there's not enough of you. I mean, like for me, being at home, I mean, I never appreciated. I don't know. There's a book. I would venture to say you before all of this, you would have said that you were an extroverted person. I would venture to say that, right? And so in separating myself, I realize now like what an introverted person I am. Because honestly, I would rather, yeah. Oh, so this is something that so you would have said you're an extrovert, and now you realize that that thing that you
The
thought was fueling you
introverted
is draining you.
the introverted realization came before the autism realization, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Was
I
that during
retook
COVID or before COVID?
before COVID. It was before COVID. I retook the Briggs Myers test because I was like, this is just not fitting me anymore. And
Hmm.
I realized, and one of the things I did was, oh, a lot of my extroversion was actually, now I realize, masking. It was an attempt to control an environment
Hmm.
that felt frightening because I didn't understand the social constructs of it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So now, because when you have this mythology about yourself, um, you kind of almost fulfill it in a way. That's why when I read there are a couple of parenting places I love, Janet Lansbury and Rye Method and all that stuff, and really being careful not to label a kid something, because they start to fulfill it. Like a year ago, my kid is mischievous, and someone accidentally started saying, "Oh, you're being so mischievous." I see her playing into that because we're so vulnerable, and when someone else says, "Oh, that's the way you are," we could see ourselves sort of becoming that, but we don't even know if that's us. And so maybe some of your big expressions, big emotions, people are mistaking them for extroversion, and you're going to be mistaking them for extroversion as well. It's not even the case, right?
Yeah. 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 Well, labels help me slot things into perspective sometimes, right? But the question is, do I choose the label for myself? Do I hear something and I go, oh, that looks like something I want to put in my mouth so that it becomes a part of me and I enjoy that? Or is someone putting this on me and now I feel the need to conform to it?
Wow.
So, um, so the extroversion was definitely security for me. Uh,
What was your Myers-Briggs? Somebody is I'm asking too.
INFP.
INFP. I
Yeah.
think that's me too. I think I'm INFP. That's like the
Introverted,
most one of the
intuitive,
rarest, right? It's the rarest
feeling.
one.
Ugh, I don't know.
INFP, rarest.
Introverted,
Rare.
intuitive, feeling, and perceptive.
Okay, rarest Myers-Briggs is INFJ. That's the one I am. INFP. So I'm just judgmental, whereas you are perceptive. ISFJ. INF. I mean, they say it's not necessarily scientific, but I feel like it's a pretty comprehensive. INFP is the only way to be. Okay, we got a lot of fans in chat. Well, listen, I need to let you go because it's 9 o'clock, and I respect people enough to let them go when I say they're gonna. But I could talk to you for hours about this.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I'm so fascinated. I'm so happy for you in that this has allowed you some freedom to be who you are. Because that for me is the number one thing in life that everyone. If you are living a life where you're not able to be yourself, then you're not living your life. And so I'm so happy for you, and I know that the acting world is very fickle and but just know that you are immensely talented, immensely incredible at what you do, and I have faith that opportunities will, as the world opens up, opportunities will too. And all the things you learn being a camp counselor and teaching kids, like it's going to make you better at your craft. And that's why I always look at everything, because the wonderful thing about acting is we roll everything who we are up into it. And so the more we can progress in life, the more we have to offer with our acting, right?
Thank Thank you. Thank you. And in the meantime, I will pick because you are so talented with your words, and I'm so grateful for what you have been contributing as a writer to this world. I will, in all of our copious free time, at some point, pick your brain
Yes, I
uh,
want to help you on
when
this
there's
journey
something.
because you have so much. I feel like, yes, you have not only a story, but just stories to offer. And I want to be of service to you as a friend. So
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for this. Thank you so much. I love you so much.
Thank you. And where can, oh, everyone follow Kim Rhodes on the social medias as it's Kim Rhodes, just your name under, you see,
It's what am I? No, I'm Kim Rhodes for.
oh, wait, she's not just Kim Rhodes. Okay, this is good.
Where am I? I'm Kim Rhodes, the number 4, and real, REAL, because I was
Oh,
copying Matt Cohen.
Kim Rhodes for
Um,
real. Okay.
Kim Rhodes for real, and yes, and that's Twitter and TikTok. I'm
Oh, yes.
mildly
You
amusing
do
on TikTok.
TikToks all the time. They are brilliant. Follow
I have a lot of
Kim on
fun on
TikTok. I
TikTok.
don't really get on there very often, but I'm like, what is she doing? I'm like, whoa, she's setting the bar way too high right now.
Um, the TikTok, and then who am I on Instagram? I think it's Reels with an S on it on Instagram.
Okay, Kim
Is that
Rhodes.
me?
Kim Rhodes for reals on
Because there was
Instagram.
somebody that no, it's for real there too, I guess. They
Okay, she
fixed it.
has a unified brand, you guys. For Kim Rhodes for real. So
I have a
everyone follow
unified
her
brand. I have a
and
unified
meet her in
brand.
person if you can. And you're
Yeah.
wonderful. All right, thanks, Kim.
Thank you.
Bye.